Hey there, good afternoon, I think. I don't know what time it is. 12:06. Noon is 12, so it's afternoon. I'm not sure why I am feeling the urge to do another video, but I am. So this morning I went fairly early to the Pashupatinath temple and did some Shiva sadhana for 3 hours. Um, Mantra sadhana several thousand times. And I got a little bit high from it. And when I kind of came out of that zone, because I'm going to go back later, I walked back home. I actually purchased some Rudraksha seeds and I walked back home. Um, and the interesting thing is while I was walking there, while I was walking home, while I've been in my room, I'm also been chanting the same mantra. But what's funny is it has an effect. It is a very short mantra compared to a lot of the mantras that I have to do sadhana with. Um, so it's a little bit easy, but because of the power of it, I get lost in it. So then I kind of forget that I'm chanting, and then I have to pull my mind back and do it again, and just start over again. Not start over, but start the next round. But you know, typically I'll do some mantras while I'm driving, when I'm in Mysore, or while I'm driving anywhere. I have several different mantras that I do each day, and here I have strict instructions to do only this mantra for the whole time I'm here. So I'm doing it. Um, but sitting in proximity of the temple, and if you have seen my Instagram or Facebook, you can see that I made a couple videos because people wanted to see what it looks like. So I explained a couple things, and I was sitting. The Bhagamati River is here, and I was sitting here, and right across the river, up the stairs, is the door, the back door to the temple, and I had already visited the front door because I'm not allowed to go inside, and so I took a photo so that because you can see the big brass and metal Nandi in front of the door. Um, Sitting there in that close proximity, and then I went across the river and sat on the stairs right by the door, so I was even closer. Those two times is when I felt this major effect. The other times I felt something, and they kind of continued this feeling of getting higher when I was walking back, especially. But it wasn't as intense because the energy is different. So the idea is when you're visiting a kshetra is a location that is um, for usually one deity governs over that kshetra. So then there are the kshetrapala or kshetrapalaka, whichever one your kind of area of the country uses. They're both valid words in Sanskrit. If you are in that space, you will have a deeper effect and you'll tell the difference. You can do it anywhere. Any mantra you can do anywhere. But if you, like, I for a long time was chanting Smashana Kali, and you go sit at the Smashan and you have a big effect. And you can tell and you know it's happening. And some things occur. Sometimes I'll share, I've shared that before. I don't want to go into that. But I can still chant that mantra at home and have some effect as well, but just not the same level, I guess is the right way to say it. In similar ways, you can have a mantra for Kalabhairav, and if like you go to the Kalabhairav here, there's Kalabhairav temples, there's big Jyotirlingas that are Mahakal or Kalabhairav kshetras, and if you go do them there, you'll have a deeper effect. When I originally moved to Guruji's, I had been doing a Pratyangara mantra he gave me already several, like 10,000 times I had already done it. But I had been doing it in America, in Germany, and then when I arrived at his place, he told me to go sit in the woods in the forest, because we have a little forested area in the property there, and do it there. And it shifted, and it was a whole different thing. And Pratyangita is not known for being in Karnataka. She's known for being worshipped more in Tamil Nadu and in Kerala. But because he has been there for so long with the temple, that space is her kshetra, so it's a very interesting occurrence that they shifted the energy of the location to be her space. It's the way it should be. That's the way things work. But what am I telling you all this for? If you have a mantra from a guru or a teacher of some kind, I have taught people mantras and told them how to chant it. If they don't give you specifics, ask. And if they do give you specifics, try and do it that way. And if they tell you can do it anywhere, anytime, but the most strongest effect will be from doing it this way. Then listen and do it. And try it. It's just very interesting to be a Western person. I'm very Western. I'm reminded of it at every moment because they're checking my little thing to make sure I paid paid for the pass to get on the property because I'm not a Hindu. I am worshiping as a Hindu, but I'm not born here. I explained that in the last video. I'm not going into that again. That's a topic of diversity in much of India also. So I'm constantly reminded that I am not from this land. But when people find out what a dedicated sadhaka I am, and that I'm an upasaka of certain devatas that a lot of even Indian people don't want to be upasakas of. Upasaka means doing the upasana, sadhana of that person, of that deity. And that I am happy, healthy, holy, and full of energy, and I have a lot of Shakti, and you can feel it when you're around me. They're very impressed by that because it's not common, like I said, in their own culture to worship some of the deities that I have Diksha with. It's just interesting to use my life, use my sadhana as an experiment to see how it goes and which side of it is better, which side of it is worse, where it's, if you're trying it this way, does it work better? If you're trying it that way, does it work better? And it's not about working better, it's just about getting the most benefit out of doing it. Why are you doing it is to get this shift and this change that mantra is supposed to bring to you. And as I think I explained also before, I do a lot of work with Devi, so I have a lot of Shakti coming in, but not a lot of Shiva. And if you have heard me explain it before about a hurricane, in India they call them typhoons. Well, I think in all of Europe and the Eastern Hemisphere they call it typhoon. But a hurricane is, air and water swirling around the central core, which we call the eye of the storm. The eye of the storm is quiet and peaceful and can be a mile wide or more, so you may not even know that there's a storm happening outside of it. But usually when you're there, you're very aware that something's going on because around it has been all of this damage and destruction. But because of those two aspects, the power that's happening and the stillness, you get a balance. And we're meant to have that inside ourselves. Shiva, Shakti, positive, negative, black, white, darkness, light, however you want to think of the polarities on the planet, we're meant to have both within each of us, male, female. One teacher I had when I was studying Kundalini Yoga used to say, a male is 60% male and 40% female, and a female is 60% female and 40% male. So we're both. We just have enough of the other energy that we were born in a body that has that sex. Which I don't know if that flies with the modern gender discussion that's going on, but that's not the point of this video. So because of all of the Shakti I accumulate, it's a little bit more stressful. I don't know if that's seen as a positive thing to say, but it does bring more stress into your life. My hairline has gone back quicker in the last couple of years than it has in the last. It's still there, but it used to be much lower. And that level of, and it's thinner up here too, and that level of stress, I think, is partially to blame for that. That level of energy inside my body also kind of burns it off. So I was told I need more Shiva and given a certain mantra to do, and so I'm doing that to bring balance back into myself. So when I go home, I'm going to have to really concentrate and focus on that, because I get a little bit addicted and attracted by the power, the Shakti that's involved in the Devi sadhana, and forget about the calm side. And then I wonder why I have so much aggravation and so much irritation and so much anger, and like sometimes I'm just like so full of energy I'm bursting at the seams, and it's like rah! But if you have that calm center, that can be there, and you can kind of retreat into that still point and let it be there and not be disturbed by it, and not let it cause you to disturb others by it either. So balance, it always goes back to that. I think I say that at least when I'm talking about sadhana, I think I say that at least once every video. We've got to keep going back to balance. And you've got to be willing to not just take the sadhana for what it is and constantly do it that way, because at a certain point it's going to be too much or too little, and you're going to have to change it and shift it. And yes, if you have a guru, they're there, you can get their advice on how to do that. That's what mine is doing with having me do this while I'm here. But if you don't have a guru, or a teacher that you have access to on a regular basis, maybe even a daily basis, I should say, you have to learn how to be in touch with yourself so much that you can feel that. You need to be able to notice that's too much. I need to pull it back. You can do that in your asana practice too, like with teaching Ashtanga Yoga. And I have said this before. I'm repeating a lot of things I've said before, but I'm just kind of realizing that. But sometimes repetition is how you learn. If you're doing a full practice all the time and then you're going to work and you're doing all this, sometimes it's too intense and too much for you, and you need to pull it back a little bit. So one day you wake up and you just don't feel like doing it, but you know you want to do something. So you take Surya Namaskara A and you see how you feel. And you take Surya Namaskara B, if A was okay and you still felt some energy, and then you see how you feel. Maybe you feel good from just that much, and you've been doing a full practice for a week, so it's not like you're gonna not benefit. For me, I do that once a week at least, sometimes twice or 3 times a week, depending on the busyness of the week. Surya A, Surya B, I like a inversion, so then I do Shirshasana, and then I do the 3 Padmasanas at the end. And sometimes if I do that small amount, then I have time left to do the Ashtanga Pranayama sequence, which goes perfectly with that because it brings more energy into you if you're feeling depleted especially. I did it this morning. I did a full practice, because I'm here, I have a lot of time. I did a full practice, but then I at the end was sitting there and I felt like I needed something, some more boost. And so I sat and I did the Ashtanga, took the time and did the Ashtanga Pranayama sequence before I took my bath and ate my breakfast and then went to the temple.
And it was like perfect. It felt great. I wished I could do it every day. I just don't have the time to do it every day at home. Um, and sometimes it's too much because I get a lot of prana, a lot of shakti going on inside myself. Anyway, we have to be willing to step back and be the observer and notice what this body's feeling, what this mind is thinking, and see how it feels, see how it goes. And in the morning, when we're getting ready, or in the evening, whenever we're getting ready to do these practices, see, do I need to throw my all into this? Or can I step back and take a little break by doing less, or maybe that day doing nothing? Uh, it's all okay. It's all for you. It's all to enhance your life. And if your life is busy, you'll notice it quicker that this can deplete you. Eventually, it should not be depleting you if you are a true yogi and you're doing it in the right way for you. So you one day, I know I can't do it all today, so I'm going to do this. Like today, I thought I'm not going to do more. I've got a lot of pain because yesterday I was on a plane. The day before I was sitting on a bus all day long, and my body was just full of ache. And as I started moving, that ache got worse. And then I got through with standing and jumped through and sat down, and then I felt a little bit more energy, and I thought, okay, I could do some more. And I kind of inchwormed my way through it. I did one pose, and the next pose, and the next pose, and I thought, okay, but I just am ready for back bends. So when I started back bends, I thought I don't really want to do the back bends. And then I did one, and when I came down, I felt pretty good. So I did another one, and I did the third one, and then I did the forward bend, and I was like, full closing sequence, and I was like, okay, this all worked out for me today. And I did more than I planned because it did bring more energy into me. And it was good. And that may not be the case tomorrow. Tomorrow I also have to be at the airport, I think at like almost 8 a.m., something like that. So I'm not going to kill myself to do a lot. I'll get up early and do some. Let's see. Be nice to yourself. Be okay with however you're doing this. And don't forget that it's okay to be nice to yourself. Ahimsa doesn't just apply outwardly, it applies inwardly. Satya, truth, doesn't just apply in how you speak, it applies in how you think with yourself and how you approach your own living. What is your truth at that moment? All of these things go both ways. So think of them setting to inwardly, not just outwardly. All right, talk to you later. Have a good day. Ciao.